Hello everyone, welcome on my very new channel and to my very first video. Just to give you a quick overview about what my channel is supposed to be like, my channel is not meant to be extremely topic driven, so sometimes I will just make a product review like I'm doing today, and some other times I may just discuss a recent political or whatever event that may just happen at that moment in time. Now, I thought it might be not too shabby of an idea to start with a review of my smartphone that I bought roughly 3 months ago, and that is my Google Pixel 5. But before we're gonna do that, I might give you a little lesson about where I come from in terms of smartphones and smart devices in general. My very first smartphone I purchased in 2017, and that used to be the Galaxy A3 from 2017. In my opinion, this is arguably the best A-series Samsung has ever released. The A3 and the A5 from 2017 were so darn awesome. For that time, it used to be an incredible deal. I mean, look at it. From the outside, you can't really say whether it's an A7 or just a mid-range phone like this one was. I purchased my one for around 200 euros, but generally it looked like a smartphone that costs at least twice as much, right? Plus, this really cool it was called coral blue color. I just liked it. And that brings me to one of my first points. Most of my smartphones used to be compact smartphones, and I do love them because the combination between a big enough screen and a compact shape is what I prefer. Because when the screen's big enough that I can, for instance, enjoy videos on it, but the smartphone itself is light enough and small enough that it fits comfortably in your pocket and you barely ever notice it when, let's say, walking around, this is what I love. My first iPhone was the 2016 iPhone SE, so for almost 2.5 years, or let's say 2 years, for almost 2 years, I had two very light and small smartphones, and I did love that. Now, my smartphone that came after that used to be a Galaxy S9, which is quite a bit bigger than the A3, and especially compared to the iPhone SE, but was still one of the most compact phones at its time. That was still packed to the guts with high-end hardware. So, yeah, now you know my story. And now you probably understand everything that is supposed to follow. Looking at the 2020 smartphone market, there used to be only 3 choices for me personally. One was the iPhone 12 mini, another one was the Xperia 5 Mark II from Sony, and of course the Pixel 5. And I mean, I already spoiled you. The Google Pixel 5, it turned out to be in the end. And yes, I have seen that 3 months experience reviews with the Pixel 5 are popping up left and right, and I watched quite a few of them, and of course also one of the earlier reviews. But what I can tell you is that some aspects of the Pixel 5 are a bit underrepresented, and this is what this entire video is about. Now, each of these 3 were quite better in some essential things, I gotta say, that are also important for me. The iPhone 12 mini is just a beautiful phone, especially in that blue color. It's probably, like in my opinion, it's arguably the most beautiful iPhone Apple has ever released. Pretty close to the white iPhone 4S. That was also darn beautiful. The Xperia 5 Mark II obviously has the better display. It just has a 4K display, which is not a standard even nowadays. It has the better stereo speakers because the Google Pixel 5 does have stereo speakers, but let's be honest, due to the fact that one of the speakers is under the display, it kind of lowers the experience. It also came in blue, which is always an advantage. Yes, whenever a smartphone or a pocket knife or generally any everyday carry item is available in blue, I usually go for the blue one. And of course, The Xperia 5 Mark II does have a Snapdragon 865, which the Pixel 5, as you may know, does not have. It has a weaker processor. The problem with the iPhone 12 mini was I'm still not a fan of the notch design. Other people, they say that you forget about the notch after a while, but I'm not that person. It really bothers me, especially because, in my opinion, with the iPhone 12 mini, Apple made a software mistake. Because on any other model, on any other iPhone 12 model, you can actually escape the notch. When you're watching videos, for instance, you can zoom out and then you have black bars left and right, which is alright. But with the 12 mini, even if you do that, a small part of the notch is still visible, and this is just a shame. I think Apple could have done a better job with that one. And the other thing is, the battery of the 12 mini is not impressive right now, and it only, as you may know, it only gets worse over time. So that were the two things that really bothered me about the 12 mini. The Xperia 5 Mark II, on the other hand, had some other issues personally for me. First, it doesn't support wireless charging, a thing that I'm used to, and a thing that I simply don't want to lose. Probably a thing that I don't need necessarily, but just a thing that I got used to again, and that is really hard to give up on. Another thing is that, although that's more of a minor one, Sony does not grant you 3 years of updates. It's rather only, it's only 2, I believe. And the camera. Although Sony is the manufacturer for most sensors out there, it seems like they haven't figured out how to make a powerful camera software. You know, both drawbacks of the iPhone 12 mini and the Xperia 5 Mark II are not things that are necessary, that are necessarily a deal breaker, but the price is the argument. The iPhone 12 mini starts at 850 euros and the Xperia 5 Mark II is almost 900 euros. Compare that with the Pixel 5, which is available for around about 600. To me, the things those two phones make better is basically not worth the additional price tag. The Pixel 5 does so many things equally good as these phones too, The Pixel 5 does many things equally good compared to these two phones that I think the price difference is not justified. That's the entire story behind that. So now you are part of my personal think tank, and yeah, now we can really talk about what I found out the Pixel 5 that really convinced me to buy this one. First off, I want to say that I generally agree to all the positive things that have already been said about the Pixel 5. The price is really good, and I believe the 600 for the Pixel 5 are justified, the roughly 300 for the 4a are justified. If you especially want to have a bigger smartphone, then the 4a 5G might be an option because it's very close to the Pixel 5 in some aspects. If you're not a person who necessarily needs to have more quality material or wireless charging or things like that, then the 4a 5G might be a good option, especially because a few days ago I've read that the white version will be available in the Google Store within the next few months. And this is an amazing message because the Pixel 5 was the only one that was available in more than only one color. And actually the 4a 5G in white looks really beautiful, in my opinion. So, I mean, I believe it will be a bit more expensive, about 50 euros more, but I think that might be worth the additional price tag for some people. So, generally, I think it's a really good move that Google Pixel went away from their exclusive contract with, was it Verizon? I believe Verizon, and makes the Pixel 4a 5G available to everyone who's willing to pay just a small amount in addition to what the just black Pixel 4a 5G costs. I think that's probably a fair deal. just to check off the usual things. The camera, extremely good and extremely user-friendly. The battery life, amazing, even if you enforce the 90 Hz all the time, which you can do in the developer options. Wireless charging and reverse wireless charging, amazing, because as I explained, this is just a feature that I don't want to miss in any smartphone that I personally own. The size, I wished it had the size of the 4A, because it's a bit more handy. But still, the Pixel 5 has an extremely well thought size, and yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with it. It has stock Android and 3 years of guarantee upgrade. This is always a very major plus about Pixel smartphones in general. And no notch, it only has a punch hole. Now, first off, I want to confirm that the weaker Snapdragon 765 processor has almost no negative impact on your everyday performance. Scrolling, how long it takes for apps to open, the performance of the apps themselves, browsing, all that is perfectly fluid, and I believe the only quicker smartphone might be the OnePlus 8 Pro or even the OnePlus 8T. By the way, if you want a bigger smartphone, that is probably a good consideration because it's around about in the same price range, but just offers more specs, right? Better processor, better display, and some other things. So if you don't have issues carrying a brick in your pocket, you may consider that one. Now, where you run into some notable differences in terms of performance is the camera, because when you take pictures that need a bit of processing, like night mode especially, there you will notice that it takes 3 to 4 seconds for the Pixel 5 to process them through the end. So that you'll notice, but to me it has never been an issue, because when I take photos, I either wait these 3 to 4 seconds, which is not a huge amount of time, or I just take them and take a look at them later. Now, there is a minority of games, like maybe 0.1% of all smartphone games, that won't run with 60 FPS on the Pixel 5, but again, 99.9% of the Pixel 5 users will not be bothered by that. Another thing you have to be aware of is when you are always getting the first version of the latest Android, then you might experience some child diseases. You might run across them whenever Google releases a major update to their Pixel customers. And I mean, you're also able to participate in the beta if you want. It's not my thing, but you can do it with a Pixel phone. When you charge the phone, it does have a charging or battery indicator. And this battery indicator might show some weird stuff. I just recently bought a new wireless charging pad. And the one I had before that was 10 watts. And with 10 watts, it sometimes showed me that it takes over 1 day to charge it, which is nonsense. The average charging time, however, was roughly 4 hours, but the indicator was going for way more than that. So don't trust it all the time, but buying a more powerful charging pad actually solved the issue. Now it shows the time correctly. I don't know if that was due to the new charging pad or due to a software update, because every 2 weeks you get a software update, so might be that Google fixed the indicator with that, but I can't say for sure. Another thing, which is probably a major thing for some people, is sometimes when you edit videos and you save the clip as a new clip, the colors have been changed, the color tone. For instance, I just made a video where what I did there, something on my PC. For some reason, the new clip turned my skin color into sort of an orange. Both clips were right next to each other, and even the thumbnail of them was different in terms of color tone. I don't know why that happened, but it actually does not happen all the time, so don't you worry about that. Now, one of the things that haven't seen being mentioned in any of these videos I've watched personally, that was that the main camera and the wide-angle camera can produce very different results. For instance, here's a picture that I took with the main camera, and generally it's very detailed, lighting is very good, dynamic range extremely good and all that, but take a look at the sky. The sky is basically just a white wall. And to be fair, where I live, the sky can look like that. Actually, today it does look exactly like that. But now take a look at the same picture, but now with a wide-angle camera. You do notice that you actually see some individual clouds, and that even the blue of the sky is actually shining through here and there. So it was a bit later at that day. And again, here's the main camera, you know, all cool. And generally the main camera gives you more detail. For instance, now when you zoom in, you can see the street signs and actually what's written on them. But now changing to the wide-angle camera, you see that it portrays the sky more detailed again. I don't know why that is, but for you as a potential Pixel 5 buyer, I just recommend to you that you may take photos of landscape with a wide-angle camera and literally anything else with the main camera. And also the main camera doesn't get as fuzzy in bad lighting as the wide-angle camera. Back in the day, the standard music player of Android smartphones used to be Google Music. And generally the handling is almost the same with YouTube Music. The actual media player, so the music player that takes all the music that you have on your smartphone, it looks exactly the same. The menu is exactly the same. Controls exactly the same. And the new functions that you now have the opportunity, especially when you're premium, that you can basically use a playlist based on the YouTube music videos that you have watched over your account's lifetime. This is a nice feature, I gotta say that. What I especially like is that the background color is actually changed, or let's say adjusted, based on what the cover of the artist you're listening to music of, like at this very moment, looks like. This is a feature I very much appreciate. What is not an improvement whatsoever is the performance of the music player. What happens every now and then is that the music just stops, and that the music player tells me it's not able to actually find the song. Although, when you basically skip a song and go back to the one that didn't work a few minutes ago, or I don't know, maybe just a few seconds ago, it's able to find the song. And that doesn't make sense to me. I do have headphones that have control options. I can skip a song and pause/play with my earphones, and it simply does not work anymore. I've never experienced anything like that with the Google Music Player back in the day. 2.5 years on my Galaxy S9, the music playback was always flawless, right? Now, granted, Google already fixed a part of the issue because the music player, YouTube Music, did have all these little problems even when the screen was turned on back in the day. It just happens when the screen is turned off, the phone is in your pocket, and you just want to listen and control the music via your headphones or your earbuds or whatever you have. In my case, I do have AirPods. To be honest, if Google is able to fix that, the new music player is actually an achievement. It's a step up. But just taking a look at the sheer performance and the unreliability,
it sucks.
Well, I think if you don't want to spend much money on the Pixel, or generally on a Pixel phone this year, the Pixel 4a is an incredible deal. For roughly 300 euros, you get an amazing camera, a really fluent performance, although it has the even weaker Snapdragon 730. But, if you are not bothered by the fact that it's a plastic phone and that it's a small phone, go for it. If you want to get the two main aspects of the Pixel 5, the better processor and the entire camera setup, you may head for the Pixel 4a 5G, especially because, as I mentioned at the start of this video, it becomes available in a second color. The 5 is available in this sort of sage color, and the 4a 5G is available in white, a really beautiful white in my opinion. So if you want to have the best Pixel smartphone available, you have to take the 5 because it's still very compact. It has the best battery of all Pixel smartphones. It has the best display due to the better color accuracy and the 90 Hertz. It has wireless charging and reverse wireless charging. The only thing the cheaper brothers do better is that they still have a headphone jack and that they have better stereo sound, mainly because they have 2 real speakers and no under display speaker. But yeah, that's it for my first video. Thanks a lot for watching, and as always, have a nice day. See you around.